We're going to discuss getting data from websites. So the first way that I usually try to extract data from a website is by using an API or just using what the developers will give you. It's really just a contract between, I would say, two developers, one who actually makes the API, the other who actually wants to use the API. What's cool about an API is that it's agnostic. You could use basically any modern language to be able to consume and use a web API. The next thing that I would do, depending on the situation, is work with the HTTP method or direct call of what I need directly. Go into your network traffic, see if you can find that route or data that you're looking for in particular, and see if you can replay it. But what if I just don't see it in the network traffic from, let's say, an API call? Now, I do see it in the network traffic, but I only see it in the HTML itself. If the data is actually rendered on the HTML, this means that the data was most likely server-side rendered. The only way that you're gonna get that information is through web scraping. So you can use something like Beautiful Soup for Python, which is an HTML parser, right? Along with the request module, download out the HTML, then use Beautiful Soup to therefore parse the information down to exactly what you need. But there are two more concepts that are done just in case for very specific and hard scenarios that you have to deal with. Let's say you're on a website. When you go to the network traffic, you see the data in the network traffic. But then when you try to use something, let's say like curl, Postman, and you try to do the same thing, it doesn't give you the exact same data that you were expecting back, like you normally saw in the network traffic and you normally saw on the web page itself. When that happens, you're gonna need an environment that can run JavaScript. The first hybrid parser of what I think about is Python's request HTML package. This comes with Puppeteer in the back end. And so that when you're like traversing through, let's say, web pages using HTTP methods, you could basically essentially keep your session and it will load the JavaScript calls in the background so that therefore the data of what you actually need actually comes in. And this works really well. But there's just one caveat that is pretty difficult to deal with. What if you have to log into a website? Although the hybrid parser can deal with that, there may be more complicated things that make it so that that may not be possible. A Webdriver is a programmable automated way of being able to work with a browser. With having a Webdriver, you can use something like Selenium or Puppeteer or whatever to be able to then manipulate the things that are on the screen. Let's say the browser needed to detect that movement was on the screen or for whatever reason, you can make that happen with Selenium.